Well, I've packed my bag, I've got my camera and I've got my tent, and I'm off for a bit of camping and a bit of photography. Now usually I like to plan these things meticulously, but on this occasion it was so incredibly last minute that the only planning I've done is to check the weather and make sure I've got the correct map. So I'm going to go on a bit of a wander, see if I can find somewhere to shoot, see if I can find somewhere to camp, and it's going to be really interesting to see if I get any images and a good night's sleep. I'm a little bit nervous and a little bit excited because I don't know if I'm going to be able to find somewhere to camp, a nice image. This whole thing could just be a waste of time. But, you know, you've got to be in it to win it, that's what I always say. And to be honest, you can't really go far wrong with this. All I've got to do is find a flat piece of ground and I've probably got the best campsite ever. Right, well, I'm headed up that way and I've got a bit of a walk yet, so I better crack on. Stumbled across this bothy. I knew there was one here, but I didn't exactly know where it was. I won't be staying here, but I am going to try and take a nice photograph. I think the sun's quite good and it will allow me enough time to carry on and find a better campsite. Yeah, it's pretty cool this. See, there's a load of beer and a few sleeping bags in there, so this will be occupied tonight. I don't blame them. But I'm not a big fan of these things. They're great in an emergency, but I wouldn't want someone walking in the middle of the night when I was trying to sleep. But with regards to a photograph, it's magic. This whole thing's a bit unstable, so I have to be careful. Right, I'm going to be really quick with this shot now because the sun's just going to fall behind the mountains over there, and I really don't want to lose this light. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now, I'm not using filters. There's no need to use filters here. There's no filter that can manage that horizon. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to bracket my exposures 1.5 stops either side, and then I'm going to use Lightroom to blend them all together, which will give me a good dynamic range. That's perfect. The composition is simple. We've got the bothy in the foreground, we've got the river as a leading line out to the lake at the bottom, and obviously the hills and the sky all just bring it all together. So one of the most annoying things about camping and photography is all the gear that you've got to carry, and a big burden of that is the water. So I've got this really cool device which is basically a little water filter which makes it safe to drink from these streams. It's a massive help because it really saves on weight. It's just absolutely perfect for when you're on the go. You need a quick drink of fresh mountain water. It doesn't get any better than this. Absolutely amazing. Well, that's the tent set up. It's in a great spot. I've just noticed behind me, or the direction I'm walking now, there seems to be quite a lot of cloud activity. So I'm going to go check it out because it could make quite a nice picture. If we get the tarn in the foreground and then these stormy looking clouds in the background, And I really hope that those stormy clouds don't come my way. I can't be doing with that in the middle of the night. I don't know. It's not working for me, this shot. It looks nice and it's a stunning view. I mean, it looks amazing, but there's not enough light, so it doesn't make a good picture. And that can quite often be the case where something looks good, but it doesn't necessarily make a good photograph. So I think it's time to move on and find another sunset image. That way. So I'm pretty much set up now. I've got my composition all sorted here. I'm going for a vertical composition, using the stream below as a nice leading line to the lakes at the bottom. And I'm hoping in about 10 minutes time we'll get quite a nice colourful sky. So that's what I'm waiting for. I'm using a Nissi 2-stop hard graduated filter and my Heliopan polarizer. What a place to wait for a picture, eh? Absolutely stunning. Right, I think the time is upon us to take this photograph. The sky's looking quite nice now and I think it's about peaking. Everything's set up. I'm just going to double check that we're nice and sharp. With a scene like this, I've got no foreground. So for the best clarity, front to back, focus to infinity. Well, that's what I'm doing. I've got my polarizer, which is taking a bit of the glare off the lake, and I've got my ND Grad, which is just dropping the sky down a touch, balancing the whole thing out. Now for this image, there's quite a lot of contrast because we've got the water reflecting the sky. Yet all of the hillsides and the grass, that's all quite dark, and I like that. I really like the contrast. Alright, here we go. It's a tad underexposed. That's quite nice. Quite a nice image, I'd say. Definitely worthwhile getting up here for anyway. Although to be honest with you, I think my image of the bothy earlier on was better. I'm still convinced there might be an image of where those clouds are behind me. I don't know if you can see that. But they're moving quite hectically. I might go and have a look before dinner. Can't stop thinking about these storm clouds. The sky's gone a bit pink now, so there's a bit of colour, a bit more interest. So I'm going to try again with the long lens and see if I can get a shot. I reckon I might just get one if I'm lucky. Here will do fine. I'm all set up and I've got my composition and the light's looking quite nice. And the clouds have gone, although I'm quite confident they'll be back. So when they do come back, I've got a Nissi 3-stop neutral density filter and I've got my polarizer on as well. This is just gonna slow down the exposure to give quite a surreal, mystical look, which is what I'm going for. Just gotta wait for the clouds to pass and then we'll get the shot. The polarizer really helps cut through the glare and it really saturates the colours in the sky. I'll very quickly show you on this monitor and then you can see. There's the polarizer, quite weak. And then if I spin the polarizer and see how it just makes those clouds pop in the sky. See that? And that is why I love a polarizing filter. I did a test shot and it looked really good, but it needs those clouds. And they're just starting to move in now. I've got this camera on a 10-second timer because the ground is so spongy. So I've got to time this perfectly. Alright, try that. Got to move away from the camera, otherwise the tripod's going to shake and that's no good. There we go, we're firing. Okay, see what we've got. Ooh. I mean, this is what it's all about for me. You get a bit of peace and quiet, just get to enjoy the surroundings. And if you don't get a really good photograph on it, it really doesn't matter, because you'll have had a great trip out anyway. I can't tell you the amount of times I go out and don't get an image. It's part and parcel of landscape photography. It doesn't always work. So you've got to make the most of going out with the camera, and that doesn't necessarily mean, you know, getting a picture regardless. Just enjoy your time out. But whenever I come camping, I always try and get a shot of my tent. See here, we've got a lovely composition. We've got the tent in the foreground leading you straight to Buttermere in the background. I've got my head torch on it in the tent, which is giving it a nice glow. Got a little bit of colour in the sky, and it's not too dark, although I wouldn't want to leave it any longer. And this should make quite a nice image, which will hopefully inspire other people to do the same, get out and enjoy the outdoors. It's the next morning, and it's about half an hour before sunrise. I've had an alright sleep, but looking at the sky, it doesn't look like there's actually going to be much of a sunrise. There's a lot of cloud cover. So instead of hanging around up here, I'm going to pack my things up, I'm going to head down to the bottom and see if I can find some images down there. Well, I'm almost at the bottom now. It's a shame nothing materialised this morning, but I still think it was worth getting up last night and staying over. It was really good fun. Feel free to subscribe to my channel, and there'll be more information, images, location, that kind of thing in my blog, which I'll stick a link in the description.